Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever felt like the world is falling apart, if you're carrying grief you can't explain, if you've been wondering why there's so much darkness when there's supposed to be so much light, then do we have the show for you. Today, I'll be talking with Joy and Matt Kahn, spiritual teachers and healers, and the hosts of a brand new YouTube channel, Joy and Matt Kahn, about what really happened in 2020 and whether we're being swallowed up by darkness or coming back into the light. So welcome to the show, Matt and Joy. Are you ready to shine?
We are so ready to shine.
We're officially ready to shine.
Woohoo! Well, thank you both so much for being here. So forgive me, before we dive right into things, is darkness winning?
Of course not.
No.
Of course not.
No.
I think it looks like darkness has found its way to the spotlight for a short period of time so that we can see it and we can witness it as it falls away and the light shines through.
If, to your point, if there's a sense that darkness is winning, it's only winning in a battle where it's defeating itself.
Yeah.
So there is, there's so much in the world right now. There is deception, there is greed, and there are, we can all look back and say, wow, this time on the planet feels very different. Did CERN open up a portal and all these different things that are very, very real. But I think that, like if we look at life in different eras, this stuff was always happening. It was just well masqueraded. And we're at a time where consciousness is waking up at such a degree that the awareness of what happens behind the scenes has kind of gone from the background to the foreground. So it seems like so much craziness is happening. But what I think really happened is it went from things that were occurring were being hidden, and now they're being used as news headlines, especially because the alternative media has become the new legacy media. People are very much interested in these subject matters. So the people that were doing things secretly now realize that they can control an audience by sharing information or disinformation publicly. And it really is the same playbook. It's just occurring in a greater level of collective awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And it's interesting because when I've been channeling, I've been getting, this is the year of the quickening and the year of the reckoning. Everything that's under the surface is coming up to be healed. But I can't believe I'm going to go here too. And then I want to dive into it because you just said CERN, you just said open things up. You think you almost said dark agenda. I get to go there. Everybody, we're bringing it to the light today. We are bringing it to the love. However, people are terrified. People are freaked out. Real stuff is happening. We can hide and say it's not. I'm not paying attention, but real stuff is happening and the world does feel darker than ever. What you're saying, though, is this is part of a love revolution. So if this is a love revolution, what the hell is love?
Well, it's in, like, as we dive into this, and I'm glad we're going here because for so long we've known something was hidden from us. We've known this, we've felt it, we've sensed something, and it began the awakening that so many of us have been going through over these last many years and decades. And, we would think we wake up to a layer of it, and then we wake up to another layer of it, and eventually it makes space. And here's what love is doing. Love is coming through that. The more we embody love in our own awakenings, the more the world feels that, and it shines the light on what was truly hidden. And so now we're seeing the effect of love shining the light. And of course, all of that was in the shadow is no longer hidden. So there's not more of it. It's just, it has nowhere to go, nowhere to hide, but right here in front of us, so that we can see it and we can keep going.
To your point, I think that, especially for the spiritual beings in the world, and bless all of us for the journey of just being able to make it through each day with all the confusing news headlines and things in the world. But, love is very different when it's seen in its purest form. But I think one of the things being unraveled in the spiritual communities is this combination of love combined with entitlement. And the entitlement that says, I'm a heart-centered being and I'm entitled to live in a world where people treat me the way I treat them. Well, if only there was just your journey going on. there's a lot more going on than just our personal journey. I'm entitled to have this. I'm entitled, this is what should be happening. Entitlement mixed with love creates a very toxic spiritual ego. And I think right now the world is doing an incredible job at helping to shatter the disillusionment of unraveling spiritual egos, because a spiritual ego just wants to stay in its echo chamber, just wants to stay in its little bubble, wants to stay in its little bubble of privilege where it can be high vibe and then attract advantages that are different from other people. And that, you know, a lot of the things that people have been believing isn't really actually the way things work from a universal perspective. But when we get over and we transmute entitlement and our love is rooted in humility, we realize that love is a one-sided transaction. Now, when we come to building relationships as human beings, we want to spend time with people who receive our love, reflect it back, and there's some sort of equanimity. But if I see someone mentally disturbed or emotionally disturbed in the world, and I send love to them, I don't need them to acknowledge it because I see that they're in a crisis. And the world is in a crisis. And the spiritual community is in a crisis. And it's a good crisis. And the crisis is the spiritual community is running out of places to hide. And so the real spiritual community is when we all start integrating into the world. And instead of hovering above the world, we start stepping forward into the world and realize that the ills of the planet give focus, intention, and purpose to all that we've cultivated on this spiritual journey, that I've awakened the power of love, and the purpose of channeling that love in the name of equality, justice, and inclusivity is just giving a purpose and a direction for where the love and light wants to shine. So I think that we're really in a passion-filled, purpose-based paradigm, and the spiritual communities are running out of places to hide. I say thank God, because there's so many people in the world that need our help, and we all need each other right now.
Just asking for new skills to be developed, right? As you're saying that, you know, thinking about self-responsibility is coming to a new level, not taking too much responsibility for other people's emotions, but actually letting people have their own experience of emotion and being in the responsibility of what's the action I'm going to take right now to be a part of bringing the light from within me forward, right? Taking responsibility for my piece in it. And of course, the discernment of knowing when others aren't going to do that.
Thank you. Did you see behind me, and I was able to hear you, and I don't think it came across in mic, there were military helicopters flying behind me. And I'm going, I wonder if that is seen on camera, because that's what we're talking about, is this balance of real world. So I want to go there on so many levels. I think what you just both said, that would be a whole interview unto itself. So I do want to peel on the layers of the onion here. First off, you got me thinking of, you know, a spiritual seeker off in a yoga retreat somewhere who feels like, you know, this is my whole world, and lovingly, kindly, there is a lot of real stuff going on. We can make a difference. Each night before I go to bed, it's part of my practice. Send love, particularly to where you see people hurting the most, not those who are suffering, but the ones who are pulling the levers, creating the suffering, because to me, those are the ones suffering the most. And it is bringing light to them that is actually going to make the greatest difference. You want to send light to love and light to everyone. But those who are in the darkness, who are in the throes of trying to spread the darkness, are hurting to me the most. So I don't know how I'm going to segue from there, because this is not my implication. But I want to segue, Matt, to your personal journey, because I think that is a journey of how to bring that spirit, the term that I'm hearing in my head, this was your get real.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, you know, I was teaching for many years on YouTube and teaching, you know, all about self-love. And you know, every time I'm teaching, I'm always looking at what are the ways things are being interpreted, and always trying to refine a teaching. And we both have that in common, because we both love teaching like this and constantly evolving it. And as I would teach, I would realize I think people think the assumption is that love is here to soothe me. And love isn't about getting real, as if love is always about, there's a mother or a father that can hold their baby when it's falling to sleep. And that's a very beautifully soft and gentle experience. There's also the parent that pulls their child out of oncoming traffic. And so love can be fierce and love can be soft. And I just started to feel as if people would prefer one side, but in my teachings authentically, I have to represent all sides. And so as I was teaching and teaching love and, amassing a beautiful audience, and I started to have this experience where I had gone through awakenings in my life, and it led me to this wisdom that I began sharing publicly. And then I began waking up out of the one who was on stage sharing publicly. And I started waking up out of that me to the degree where I actually thought, because I've gone through many deaths and many awakenings, but it felt so physical. I actually thought, I think I'm going to die. Like, I think I only have a couple years left, and I think I'm going to die. And it was to the degree that I publicly said, hey, I'm having this experience. I think I'm going to die. And I don't know what it means, but I feel like I need to share it. And a lot of people took it to heart. I took it incredibly literally, because I literally felt like I could feel my parents on the other side, like waving to me, like, we'll see you soon. And all of a sudden my life became became more real. And it's always been real, but this was just a revelation of something more real. And really what it was me coming back into my body fully. And I'd gone through layers of this. I thought I'd already gone through the experience, but I came back into my body, and I was waking up out of the identity of the me that would share, but this is all I knew how to be effective in the world, so I couldn't stop sharing. And so I was in this conflict of, I'm not sure I really know who I am anymore, but this is where I find my joy. This is where I help people. And I didn't know if there was another way for me to be effective in the world. And so I kept doing what I was doing, trying to figure out my experience. And it got to the point where I sensed that I just don't know that there's anything more for me to give in this work. And I thought that my time was done doing this. And I had an event in Arizona to go to. In my mind, I'm there waving to people, taking pictures, doing all the things, very gracious with people, as I always am. Very, proud and very touched by the fact of how deep people have been touched by these teachings. And thinking to myself, I think this is the last event I'm ever going to do. And at that event, Joy and I met. And we were both actually internally in the same place. She didn't know why she was at the event. I didn't know why I was at the event. And it had seemed as if the industry that I was working in was more about soothing our feelings and trying to be in a bubble and trying to just be in states and feeling like people were just there to absorb my energy so that they could be in a high state. And I felt like people were feeling my energy and not listening to what I was actually saying. I felt like I, as a transmission of energy, was unknowingly turned into a drug. And I was turned into a form of dependency, even though that's never how I taught. And I've never seen myself as a guru, but I felt like I was almost like the leader of a cult I didn't agree to be a part of. And I know these are strong words, but this is my experience. And so Joy and I met at this event. We had never met each other in our lives. We instantly fell in love, which was amazing. And as we started talking, we both said to each other, and what the hell are we doing here? We got all this, alien stuff and guess your home planet and paint your chakras. And that's all beautiful. That's wonderful. But it's just not where I'm at or where we're at in our personal lives, in our journeys. Our high level spiritual journey is about being people. And then we got together, got married a year to the day that we met. And now I'm a stepfather, a step grandfather. But our lives are about real things, being a real person. And I will tell you, having gone through this experience, there was a moment where I almost walked away from this work completely. And it was only for the chance. And I said, the only way I'll do this work again is if I'm on stage with my wife, because she's not only my life partner, my best friend, she is in her own right the most incredibly clear, intuitive, and spiritual teacher I've ever met. And she thankfully thinks that about me. And I never wanted to do the work unless I was on stage with Joy, because I noticed that when we're on stage together, it's about the teaching, not about the person sharing the teaching. And I told myself, if I come back to this work, I don't want this to be about me. I walked away from a publishing contract. We started our own publishing company. I did everything I could to make it about the work, because I just found as I did this work and shared it, somehow it became a lot about me. And there was a point where I, truthfully, there was a part in the beginning where you'd feel validated and touched by that. And wow, I'm making a difference. And that's true. But I woke up in a way where making it about me instead of the teachings became a liability to the intention of why I do this work, which is, wow, what's in the way of me helping them find this power in themselves? Well, what's blocking it is me, strangely enough. And I don't think I really did that, but I think something that's happened along the way. So in this new paradigm, I feel safe to teach. I feel my best with Joy at my side. Now, we just started, doing this recently. It's been like a year or so. So we've been, figuring out like our flow and, but this for me has been a reignition of inspiration. This is the only way I want to do the work moving forward. I had thought of, I guess I'm just going to shut down my channel and do cooking videos. And I almost went full blown culinary because that's one of my greatest passions. But it is the work that we do together and how we're reimagining everything together that inspires me to be more fulfilled in my work now than I ever have before. And I think I really woke up out of whatever popularity game is woven in this culture. And I really just pride myself on being an effective teacher, an effective husband, an effective father. And my life is fulfilled in a very quiet way now.
Mm.
Very cool. So there's a lot of parallels going on. I don't have Jessica on stage with me or on camera with me, but I have gone from, and it's been an interesting transition. People get attracted to the genre. Tell me about the future. Tell me about what's coming. Here's the work you get to do. No. I don't want to know about that. Just let me be in your energy and you'll make me feel better. No, this is 2026. We get to do the work. Nobody gets to not do the work. And when I saw you starting back with Joy, what I sensed is that you were letting Joy speak a lot as you were letting tumblers fall into place inside of you. And you had a lot of integration that rather than saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, you were allowing yourself to be reintegrating and then say, now I'll take the mic, but it's not the I that's speaking now.
That's right. Well, thank you for that. And I really honor that clarity and that perception. Also, I will say, just to add to world events, what added to my feeling like I was physically dying was in 2020, I do what I always do, which is as a card-carrying member of the People Pleasers Club, although I think I'm no longer a member. I have not renewed it in the last couple of years. In 2020, when the world locked down, I was told that all the places that I spoke publicly, that unless you get this certain medical requirement, you won't be able to speak at this place anymore. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do for my career? So I had received 3 doses of that medical requirement. And it created, since then, an incredibly compromised immune system where I've learned how to use my intuition around the compromised immune system. But it took me a while because since that happened, I hadn't been physically okay. And always feeling like I'm on the verge of getting sick. Anytime that there is some sort of virus, I feel like it's attracted to my field. And when you said integrate and let Joy speak, it's true, because what I was learning to do is I was learning to circumvent my physical challenges in order to figure out how to use my intuition differently. Because for a while, my intuition stopped working after those 3 medical requirements. And then I didn't know, well, what am I going to do now? I based my work on intuition. And so I had come up with all these contingency plans. I was going to write a book called Dumped by God. I had this whole idea and I was going to figure out how to do this differently.
Was it Mother Teresa who spent 20 years where she said she no longer heard from God anymore?
Exactly. But the good news is my intuition functions in a lot of ways even better than it did before. It's just different. And it just took me a while to figure out how to function differently. But I did that in front of people. And so the experience of, it was really hard. It was really hard. I'd be on stage and I'd hear whispers of, oh, he's not like he used to be, or what happened to Matt? And then I got together with Joy, and then, the rumors of, maybe she changed him, or maybe all these.
Forgive me for throwing this in here. There's dumped by God and there's picked up by Joy.
There it is. Thank you. And I definitely found my joy. And the truth is that, we make all our decisions together, and this is just the work has evolved in a way that really speaks to our heart. And again, our intention is, I don't want to do a little talk here, but our intention is for all the people that have been attracted to this work, whether it's from our individual teachings or any other teacher, we want to spend our life teaching people how to access that in themselves so they can be their own source of connection. And that for me feels like if I'm going to continue doing this work, that's the only thing I can focus on. Nothing less or anything else makes sense. And
yeah, I think, we all have this at some point in the journey where I think as we're awakening to our spiritual aspects or connections, there's this idea that we'll be in this spiritual bubble, and that was the intention, at least, we've talked about this from our perspective on the journey. There was this beautiful relief that happened in, I can always connect, I can be in this spiritual bubble, we can teach from this place. But it required that everyone meet us there, that as we were teaching, people had to meet us in the place where they could be in this isolated bubble, but then they'd go back to their lives and life is really happening. And so when we were faced with, life is really happening and not even our spiritual bubble is keeping it out, right? I mean, it's happening for all of us. There's nowhere to hide. That it caused us, I think, to really look at, are we helping in the best way that we can? And for us, it was, we were doing the best we knew how to do in the moment. And right now we're being asked to go even deeper and to bring different teachings into the current times, because the world is here. It wants us to look at it. It wants us to take action, and we aren't equipped in that spiritual bubble. And so it became such a calling for us that it didn't matter what we had to do, what we had to change, what we had to face together. We knew we were in this together, and we were listening to divine, and the divine is guiding us. And that is, we take our guidance from the divine every single day, and then we make those decisions together.
Absolutely.
And it's so important. Right?
It's a theme. I think I talked about it in last night's YouTube Live, and I probably wrote about it this morning, which is the power in saying, I give up, or you take this, and finally coming to that understanding. And this has been an understanding, and then you peel away a layer, and then it's another understanding of that same thing. But once I got bumped by the truck last year, is wait a sec, this isn't my show. These aren't my books. These aren't my talks. Anything that I'm doing ain't mine. You take it. I give up. I ain't going to try to drive this anymore.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I love how you said that. I love how you said that. I think that, you know, you come out with teachings, or we all have our transmission. We all have our way of sharing this. And you come out talking about the realization of spirit. And then people like the way you or we share that realization of spirit. And then it becomes more about the person sharing than it does, it becomes more about being a fan of the finger than the moon it's pointing towards, right, to go into a very old Zen teaching.
Well, you have, and I have, all of us do. Everybody does, but we play with this. We hold not just space, we hold an energy, and that energy is great. It's fun. It's cool. It's also seductive, and people can lose the teaching and get stuck or take the energy and forget about that's what we're talking about here today and lose the teaching. And it's the teaching, not the energy, that's most important. It's your own self-work. It's your own self-worth. It's your own attunement to the divine, not through somebody else's phone.
Well, and something that's even, this is a very, real thing to say, some things that we know, but you can, how can I say this? The ego likes to seek connection to the light, but it doesn't want to dissolve into the light. Like when I give up, you fully surrender, which is magnificent. So one of the ways it does it is it wants to be warmth by the light, but it doesn't want to dissolve into the light. And so one of the ways it can avoid and bypass is it gets close to the light warming it, and it creates fantasies about the light as a way of avoiding dissolving into it. So as a teacher, you can actually tell, we can both tell when people are really allowing the energy to guide them in their own journey, and we're just being a mirror or a finger, or when people are using the teachings as an amplification for the drugs they may already do. I'm going to go get high and listen to Matt Kahn teachings, or I'm going to turn on a YouTube video and fantasize about this person, and how that blocks us from being able to do the deepest work with people. Because the deepest work a teacher will do with a student, and I don't hold those terms classically, but just for verbal sake, the job of the student is to step into their own inner teacher, and the job of the teacher is to erase themselves. Is to disappear. Like you go to a temple, you meet with this teacher, and they keep saying, time for you to leave, go back to the world, take it to the world. And you don't listen, and you keep going to the temple, and then one day on their door it says, gone fishing, be back never. and
it's fun you say gone fishing, because I had this beautiful meditation teacher on Maui like 15 years ago named Claudio. He bounced back and forth between Vancouver and Maui, actually. And he called himself a tugboat. His job was to tow you out into the waters and then get the hell out of town, gone fishing.
That's right.
Yes.
Gone fishing. It's so true. And I think in this day, a couple of years ago, I think we all started to realize the era of the guru was over. And what's interesting is I never saw myself that way. But I started to realize, I think I'm being treated this way. And then I started to go, well, how did I get here? How did I get to this Matt Kahn variety show and all I want to do is help people wake up? And then I started waking up out of myself and going, I just want to be home alone cooking food. And maybe that's what I'll spend my life doing. And again, when and as we came together, it was just, we reminded each other of, we love this work. We love doing the work, and we love helping people do the work for themselves. And I think that the world is such in a flux. There are so many things that even like if aliens landed today, the likelihood that is a concocted, made up experience as another level to control people, we can't hide in ourselves anymore. We have to come out and we have to unite as a people. This world really is at a crossroads.
Well, and let's dive in there for a minute. And there's a term, and I definitely want to hear from Joy as well. But we're gonna get to the divine feminine and why you guys are the Joy and Matt show now. We will get there. but I call this time, and I did not coin this term. I heard it a week or two ago. It's the polycrisis. There's going to be one event today, there's going to be another event today, and there's going to be another event today until you finally do the work. And that doesn't mean that the polycrisis are going to stop or the made-up crisis are going to stop. But we will be in our grounded-centered place. And from there, now we can change the world around us. So I want to go back to CERN. This is interesting, going back to 2020, because I was reading an article about it last week where they say it's now obsolete and they have to build a newer, greater version of it. And that's in the work to something even bigger, even better. What happened, do you believe, in 2020? Why is that affecting us now? And dare I say, tongue in cheek, but not, why may that have actually been the greatest thing in the world for us?
Interesting.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to begin. We've talked about this a lot. I'll say that, I mean, we all know CERN did something.
And people may not even know what CERN is. So please tell us what CERN is.
Yeah. So CERN is a research center. Would you call it a research center? They're a group of scientists who've come together and their desire is to, I mean, in my opinion, at least how they've spoken about it, is that they want to create or play God. They want to create worlds. They want to figure out how to break the, I think it's I'm trying to think of the word for it. They want to shatter the, it's another word. It's not a molecule, but they essentially want to break apart our reality, our quantum field, in order to access other dimensions. And so a lot of people have come out that they've accessed 15 different dimensions through this work. And essentially they're literally just shattering the world that protects us, this field around us that we communicate in, that is filled with our intuition and this incredible space that connects us. They want to break it apart. So that's their goal, is to find out what's on the other side when they do that. And so they fire a beam into the quantum field on a regular basis to do this. And they began doing that in 2020.
Well, and to add to that, there's something that, anyone can really research. It's called Project Looking Glass.
Yeah, CIA.
Project Looking Glass.
In fact, this is the second interview to come up in 3 interviews. The second one.
Isn't that funny?
And it never came up before last week.
Yeah.
Knew of it.
So the U.S. government allegedly is a new favorite word, allegedly discovers some Sumerian technology and hooks it up to a computer and has realized they're able to create a looking glass many, many years ago and look into a quantum reality to predict certain future occurrences and precedences. And as they're using this technology for many, many years, there comes a point in time where they realize when they get to 2012, they can't see beyond that timeline. And they keep doing all these, what if we do this? What if we do that? What if we adjust this? They can't get past 2012. The reason I bring this up is because there are other operations that have occurred where allegedly, I'm under the impression, just intuitively, that there's been time travel for many decades. And there have been many instances where people have gone back in time, adjusted, because you cannot go into the future. You can only go into the past and come to the present. So you adjust some things in the past and it ripples into the present to change things. And if people have an agenda, that might be a way to stack the deck. So my sense intuitively is the reason they couldn't see beyond 2012 in the timelines.
Can I pause you for a really weird tangent? Mandela effect? Could that be part of that I'm almost thinking the Matrix movies and the deja vu, where we all remember collectively something, but now it's something completely different?
100%. We think that they kept going back into the past to change things. We think they changed something at the Lincoln assassination. We think they changed something in World War II. And they do that to shift the timeline of the present moment. We think they did that so many times, but they never knew they only had so many times to go back in the past and do it. And they ran out of plays like a video game, and they couldn't see beyond 2012 because all the timelines converge into this one timeline. At that time, right? 2012, and I would say through 2020, we start experiencing this thing, as you said, Mandela effect, where we all remember things differently. Like there are some people that remember Nelson Mandela dying in prison. I was one of them. I can tell you, I was in middle school. The teacher told me he died, and I remember turning to my friend and say, "That's so sad that someone who was doing such good work, his life ended that way." Like I remember that moment concretely, and
but I don't. Yeah.
But she doesn't. This is so funny. So we're from two different timelines. So our sense is the reason they want to build a bigger CERN, they want to open up a portal. They let things in, they put things in, because they can't go back into the past anymore. They ran out of opportunities to do it. They've done it. And a lot of people will say, life feels kind of weird now. It feels off. And I think it's because of that work. And I think it's because, and this is just my last little tangent, the people who are in power know they only have so much time to be in power before the light wakes up and creates a new paradigm. So they're trying to go back into the past. They're trying to adjust things to stretch and manipulate time to give themselves more power to be in, instead of going, our time is up, it was real.
And I think go somewhere else, right? Like I think they are looking for an opportunity to actually leave and go somewhere else. Yeah. And so they're trying to, stack the deck in their favor.
So then, Joy, take me to the snake that eats its tail, because right now it feels dark. It is interesting, and that is no. You don't have to be. My first degree is political scientist. You don't have to be a political scientist to go, Mon Dieu, what is going on? What is going on, though, and why? Because right now we can hear this. We can hear about CERN. We can hear about them creating things. And I produced even more fear by saying they're trying to make a bigger, better CERN, and that all these people are doing these things. And what's their end game? And we could go live in that fear. But the light is coming. How is that possible that the light is coming when it does appear? And you could be in Minnesota right now, and there are literally people marching on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think one of the greatest demonstrations of this is in the simplest of things. And, even though we've channeled a lot around this, we've done a lot of intuitive readings around this, and we can see it unfolding in such a beautiful way for all of us. But I think the best example is we've seen it in our own lives when we try to control things. Right? You set out for an intention and you're like, if I do X, Y, and Z, then I can ensure that I'm going to have success there. And we do everything in our power to do all of the things only to find that it doesn't work the way that we want. So we've put all of this energy and attention, and no matter how hard we try, it still unfolds as it's going to unfold because it's for our highest good. It's for our highest, our best interest. It's what we need for the evolution. And it really mirrors the logic behind this reality we live in, which is there is a nature. There is a nature to all of us, and there's a nature to how this universe functions. And when any of us start trying to poke holes literally in the natural world, and we try to control this place, we're met with the very real truth, similar to being hit in traffic with an oncoming truck or navigating illness that we didn't see coming. These things happen in order to catch our attention and remind us that there is a bigger plan. And none of us has been able to figure out how to get around that, and we will not. It's an inevitability of universal law. This universe would not stay in place. It would all come undone, and there is no way of that possibility. So it brings this inevitability to it. We just have to be able to move through these next few years while the snake's consuming its own tail, so that we can survive in the most comfortable way possible, right? It's going to be uncomfortable, but...
Can you explain what that means about the snake consuming its own tail and what's happening? Because it does appear, if we were watching a sci-fi movie right now, and this is one hell of a movie. If it were just a movie, I'm not sure I'd watch it because I don't like the scary movies anymore, but it is. I don't like to resonate with that, but it's one hell of a movie. It seems like it's getting darker and darker and darker and darker, and it's accelerating and accelerating. But why is that not endgame?
Oh, well, it's not endgame, because the more that they continue to do that, the more people look away, the more they're seeing through it. So as they continue to move these agendas out into the world, we continue to see through them. We continue to look at it with a skeptical eye. It triggers our own awakening, and we begin to see them doing it. And eventually they're the only ones that are buying their story. So they're the only ones consuming their news. It becomes so literal.
Yeah. And, one thing that I liked, and I love what you just said, one thing to add to this is, and it's a different perspective that people, it's not always taken in this when we talk about this thing about, basically from last couple of years through 2030, we have every possible scenario of Endgame being played at the same time. So when you said like a polycrisis, is it going, they're trying as hard as they can in Minnesota right now to create a civil war. They're trying to justify martial law. Is it going to be the fall of the US dollar? Is it going to be, we won't tolerate the Greenland, annex and all this different stuff, but it's every playbook. And then the last playbook is, of course, we have evil aliens coming to attack us. But with all of that being said, let's say you have 200 people from royal bloodlines and people that work behind the scenes who either are a part of creating this or know about it. Say you have 300 people max, 500 people max, just to be generous. Yes, there are 500 people doing things that they will have to learn from in their own journey of redemption with spirit, of course. You can spend all day blaming the villainous 500 people. But then we have billions of people in this world, that, of course, from compassion have been marginalized, have been segregated, have been put in separation from their source. They made up a fake New Year's Eve date so that we could be disconnected from the natural flow of life. And so do we spend time focused on the evil 500 people, or the billions of people that are complacent and complicit in allowing the world to be run this way? So the end game, in the way we see it, is that eventually the intensity and the weirdness and the dissonance of all of this is going to cause people to say, I refuse to live like this. Let's all stand up and come together. There are billions of us. There are 500 people trying to keep this from being revealed. And that's not going to end well for those people who hide in secrecy. So the end game is when, darkness is only as powerful as the light hiding from its own power. So at the end of the day, the story will be, after all these years of deception, and then one day the light woke up, united as one, and darkness ceased to exist, and the snake ate its own tail. Mm-hmm. What we're going to watch is the desire for power is going to eat itself alive. It's going to expose itself. The light does not defeat the darkness defeats itself. The light simply steps forward and mobilizes as one to recreate the world as a reflection of our evolving unity.
Thank you. So then I'm going to be very careful. I'm hearing, what was the movie? Chicago, Matthew Broderick. I can't believe the names. The word is coming to me. Choice is the word that I want to say. I want to be very choice about my words here. How do we not just remain in the light, but let's say that we are in Minnesota, or we are in Gaza, or we grew up here, or even second generation here, and somebody from a new army comes knocking on the door and is going to send you to God knows where. How do we, being the spiritual beings housed in this physical frame or body that we are, how do we walk through that?
Yeah. This is, I think, that's the $1 million question right now, is that can only be answered from within us as we develop our resilience and our discernment. I think being in the bubble keeps us from paying attention to those things that are happening until they surprise us at our door, right? And rather than waiting for those events to be a thief in the night, as they say, just showing up out of nowhere, we can use our discernment and we can learn to feel our own intuitive impulses, our own instinct. We can develop ourselves, grow our ability to be able to connect to the field, to feel what's happening. And just like you wouldn't walk down a dark alley in the middle of night, you find your way moving through it. Our ancestors were guided by intuitive pulses that caused them to migrate before earthquakes, to move with their nature. And we've lost this part of ourselves, but it's right here. And that's what the true teaching of all of this is. There is something inside of you that knows where to go next, what to do next for your own path and your own journey. And the more we listen, we won't be rescued from the events that are happening in this world, but we'll have the most information to prepare ourselves for how we will move through that. Just like we move through pain and challenges, we'll be able to navigate that with that inner work that we've done. That's what it was for. It wasn't to escape it. It was to be able to walk through it. I think that's the hard truth in all of the journey that we've been on. The hard truth is none of the work that I did lets me escape what's happening right now. It prepared me to walk through it.
So then where do we begin? Thank you. Where do we begin? I like to say the show is more how-to'sy today. and we get to dive deeper and peel away so many more layers of this, but how do we start we're going to use that word discern again, which is interesting because it has the word D and then CERN again. And I was like, well, that's interesting now, isn't it? To dissect in a sense. How do we know how to discern? How do we start to play this game of being able to trust and listen and hear, which is what Matt had to do, but both of you had to do. You were in the same journey at the same time, at the same place, to trust ourselves and trust our own inner wisdom again.
We have to allow the dismantling to happen. And I think that's oftentimes in the what do we do next, we want to grasp a hold of something that will keep us safe, but it's in the letting the things that we believed and thought about the world come undone. It's about not being afraid to look at what's happening in the world. And rather than our opinions about what are happening, rather than choosing a side, is to step back and go, what in me is being revealed through this? What in me is being dismantled? What ideas about the world do I have that no longer serve this moment? We are, I think, more afraid in general. We're talking about the collective we. In general, we're more afraid of what people think of us, what side we're on, what our opinions are, what we care about, what we're saying. We're afraid of other people's judgment more than we're paying attention to or afraid of being who we are. So the journey of knowing ourselves is the primary focus. Do I know myself and what I want? Am I making choices that feel aligned with me or with an outer world I'm trying to protect myself from? Am I worried about making money and pleasing people, or am I focused on how I can be of service right now and I'm following my own guidance to care for myself and those I care about? And it really is the dismantling of the world knows what's best for me to I know what's best for me. And that dismantling is different layers of difficult depending on our alignment with that. I know for us, this was a very difficult, especially being in the public eye, speaking in public, doing this work with our audiences, the idea of dismantling my identity based on whether or not I had enough likes to what I said. And if I said something and people didn't like it, then I wanted to shrink and say something they did like. This is the part of us that cannot be carried forward because the world we're walking into values transparency. It values your discernment. It values choosing for ourselves the world we want to create rather than giving our power away to others. So for me, I would say the dismantling is number one. That is the biggest thing you can do for yourself, is allow yourself to be triggered by the world events and see what is dismantling in you rather than that part of you that wants to make it go away to be comfortable.
Yeah, I really love what you just said. I really do. And I think I would just, to add to that, it's the same rules in my life. If I were to see a child being harmed by an adult, if I were to witness a child potentially being abducted by an adult, I'm willing to help whenever help is needed, and I'm willing to die.
Yeah.
It took me almost dying. And I felt like I was within weeks of dying before I met Joy. And I knew I meant dying in my sleep. I knew exactly how I was going to do it, and not I'm going to do it, but how it was going to occur. And I think that what happens in the spiritual path is we go as far as we go into the journey. We go, if I'm doing it right, it's going to feel better. Well, I don't want to bump up against, Spirit says, are you willing to die to wake up? Oh, that's not really, I'm just going to do a little U-turn and recalculate and find a different route. And, if you're not willing to die, are you willing to die if it means taking your passion and bringing it to life? Are you willing to work so hard on your passion and what you need to bring to the world that you're willing to die? Are you willing to die to save another human being? Are you willing to die to stand up for what you believe in the world? I believe we have a world where we can look around the world and go, God, what happened to our world? It seems like it's falling apart. But we actually live in a world where complacency is created by having too much perception of personal comfort, which is why you go to a village in a third world country and they don't have much of what we have, but they have a greater sense of connection and togetherness and orchestration as a family unit. So I think life needs to life in a way that erodes personal comfort to where people are willing to die for something that they believe in. And only then can we stand side by side as neighbors, and we can be from different religions, different cultures. We can be from different parts of town, but we can meet as one because we're all willing to stand for what we believe in. We're willing to die versus wither away in a world that uses personal comfort to distract us from stepping into our power. So I just want to say, in honor of what my wife just said, we are willing to die to any moment we are in. I'm willing to love my family so deeply, even if it meant dying while I embrace them. And I'm willing to save another person's life, even if it took my own life. And I'm willing to stand up for the rights of all beings, no matter what the risk was for me. And that's what the world needs more of, is that willingness to step forward and to unite as one.
It's how we let the identity also then just die,
Yeah.
right? We allow all of it to crumble.
All right, let's see how I can thread this needle. I've got to bring a lot of skills to the table for this one. I don't even know if I have the skills for this one. The emperor has no clothes. We can all agree the emperor has no clothes. We can all agree that being on the mic, we tend to dance around the fact that the emperor has no clothes, because if you say the emperor really has no clothes, then people don't listen and then don't get the message and don't take action. And so the question is, how much can I dance around the fact that the emperor has no clothes? And bring it to the other side of the table, we're talking about not the Wayne Dyer, die while you're still alive, which is a great concept. And we have each done that and done that over and done that over and done it over again. What you're talking about is really putting your life on the line. So I've got the emperor has no clothes. We're not euphemistically talking about putting your life on the line. And now we've got darkness knocking on the door, Minnesota, this or that. Are we saying that we need to get real and we may need to go on the streets? We may need to do something. We may need to stand up for our family, for our friends, for our community. What are we all dancing around saying? And I can't believe that I'm even going here.
I know.
Right.
I know.
Because it's, we're all feeling it at some level, but, we think about what we would have done in past events. We talk about history and what would I have done if they came for my daughter or for my family, for my sister, and we all want to think that we would have pulled them back. We would have fought the system. We would have said, no, you can't take my family, but that's not what happened. They had the ideas had permeated that it was more shameful to fight the system or to be risk being hurt yourself, that we didn't help each other. And that really is truly what we're saying, is if we are not willing to help each other, we will be alone trying to help ourselves. And that's not the position we want to be in. We want to be a community, a loving community of human family that says, I am with you and I am willing to fight for you and with you if the need comes.
And I think also to your point, if you have, just to use a metaphor, if you have 1 million people surround an army of resistance that has 100 people, 1 million people surrounding 100 people, the likelihood is the 100 people are going to realize, wow, there is no use in doing this, and there will be a surrender. If something happens, we can detain offensive measures without becoming counter-offensive in response. So what we're really saying, and I'm glad we have the chance to really clarify this, you can be willing to die without doing harm to your fellow human being.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not suggesting, neither one of us are ever suggesting, Michael, doing harm to another human being. Yeah, but I mean, it's good just to make this point that
and I actually, I'll say my statements that I say time and time again. It's a Mother Teresa statement. I didn't come up with it first. I ain't against anything. I will bring love to anything. I will bring love and light to the darkness. I will look at the person who is thine enemy, and there ain't no such thing in my opinion, and I will bring love. I will be there for a pro-peace rally, not an anti-war event.
Yeah, yes. We can't allow, there's a difference between we're going to defeat you versus we cannot tolerate this in our world. This is compromising the peace of our world. So there is a way, of course, that, and again, a lot of riots historically, I'm not saying all, but some get started by actors and then become a real thing. And there are people in this world that are looking for just a reason to do chaotic things. But there's a way to rally together and say, we're willing to die, but we will do no harm to our fellow brother and sister, especially when, there are people in law enforcement. They are our neighbors. They are our cousins. I have people in my family that are in law enforcement. There are people that abuse their position of power. There are people that don't. And I think that what it comes down to is the strength in numbers is if you had millions of people who camped out on the lawn of the White House and says, we are done being the pawns of your really badly scripted reality TV show, and we are not going to move until these demands are met. And one of the things about unity that's so important is that there are people who want to stir people up. Like when they had the insurrection thing years ago at the White House, they want people to do violent things because then they get to go, oh, your point of view has no validity. You're a criminal. So now we just put you through a system. But if you have people that are very clear on saying there are people around us that are going to try to rally, rile us up, agitate us into being violent. But if we refuse to be violent, and it's just this, the power of the strength of our numbers, we're willing to die, we will do no harm, and we will not turn away until these criteria are reversed or these demands are made. If we as a people do that for a laundry list of things that have no existence outside of narratives and a lopsided system, if that were to occur, that would be the beginning of a world governed by the will of the people, and not just people who have been trained to look at their phones, who then look at the outside world like it's a YouTube video that they're watching when this is the world we're living.
Well, now it gets to a word, and I think I've heard you use it recently even, and that word is addiction. And it is addiction to comfort. Right now, the world, those, whether it's, I don't know how many, the word goon comes up, whether it's 500, whether it's however many people are doing whatever's doing. And I don't believe in victimhood. We are all doing this cosmic dance together, all for our highest good, all for our ascension, all for the light at the end of the day. And if we stay in that addicted comfort zone, then those who actually do think they have an agenda for whatever reason, they got us. And that's what's going on. That's what I see going on in the world today, is it's them. It's over there. It's never our own community, even when it is our own community. And there is only a community of one. Sorry, go ahead, Joy.
Well, that's okay, because
Well said.
this conversation is so, I mean, we are obviously passionate about this because this is what's happening in our world. But when you hit on that word addiction, our nervous systems are being used against us. It's not just the addictions we think we're used to seeing, drinking and drugs and television. We're actually addicted to the triggering effect of a headline.
Of course. It's the challenge I've run into with the show. My show has quote unquote tanked over the last year as I tried to bring it more into the light. And people will complain about whatever title I put up here now. But guys, if I want to reach anyone and I just say it's all about love, guess what? Crickets.
Right. And they don't realize it's happening. So people want it to be different, but the addiction is it triggers my nervous system into a freeze response. And so even if I am in a flight response, I will eventually go back to a freeze response because I don't know what to do, because I'm overloaded with it. We're all ODing. So people are ODing on it. They don't know what to do. They keep watching the headlines, even if they don't watch the content. They'll turn it on just to comment and say something about the headline. But that addiction, I think, is this is such an important conversation to allow ourselves to wean from that, to wean from the need to be triggered so that then we can check out. I think that's the crisis. We're in this mental health crisis that's caused us to not be able to rally and come together. We're all in a state of freeze on a regular basis. And I think we've all experienced that. There are certain things that caught us off guard. 2020 caught both of us off guard.
Yes.
And so we became very familiar with the nervous system we'd been teaching people to regulate. We went, oh, there's another layer of how this can happen and unfold. And so the dismantling of that has been our major journey that we've been helping with people with recently.
And I think when the news headlines that you pay attention to are what your own senses will show you what's in front of you, then the light wakes up and starts to express itself through communities, through families.
Yeah.
What is the late breaking news in my personal life, in my family, in my community? And how can we rally together resources? Like if I was in Gaza right now, the only thing I would do would be to gather ingredients and cook food for people, because that's what people are hungry. And in Minnesota, there are people that are legitimately rallying for change, and there are people that are trying to create and instigate artificial riots to get innocent people to, get riled up, and then it turns into something. But again, if there was, and I'll throw another headline out, if there was an EMP, and we had no internet and we had no electricity, we would all be forced to go back to where we actually.
Yeah, knocking on the door of our neighbor saying, "Can I help you?"
Yeah, and now we're people again. We're not just categories and all these different things. So all I'm saying is whatever winds up happening in our world is the greatest blessing to bringing the world into the position of our collective power. People can, we can talk about what's going on behind the scenes, but to your point, talking about the darkness does not help us see the invitation the light has to return to its own power. And the only reason why there seems to be a darkness is because the storyline is how the light woke up to its power and returned the world to a place of connection. So we know how the movie ends. Love always wins, but it will occur through an erosion of comfort. It will erode through a willingness to do no harm, to force everyone to have the conversation that honors the integrity of everyone's intelligence, whether they're using it or not.
Woo-hoo. All right. So before we wind this down here, how can we tell either the light is winning or the light is gonna win? Because without hope, we go right under the table, particularly after this interview. How do we bring this back into the light? How do we know Ooh, this will hit home for you. How do we know there's more love now than ever?
Sure. What would you say?
I think I know you'll have something to share around this, but I feel like what gives me so much hope every day is that we wouldn't be, I remember there was a time in the 80s when it was the biggest bubble of all time and people didn't see what was happening in the world. And still we knew there was something not right and we were crying for more love. We could see the hurt that was happening in the world and it was nothing like today, but we knew that it was there. And so we continued to bring that love and to do that work. And more people have been healing themselves than ever before. More people have been stepping into it. We see it in our conversations. More and more people are coming into our events. We see it. We see it in our communities. You see it in your community. More people are stepping in and doing the work. And as we do that, the light gets brighter and the darkness is revealed. So the more we see that the emperor is wearing no clothes, the more I'm convinced that's what's happening, because we wouldn't be able to see it otherwise. We'd all be just turning a blind eye. We'd be going about our business, doing our, listen to our pop music, and we wouldn't even care. But so many people care so deeply that I know the love is stirring in them and saying, we've got to do something. Yes.
I love everything
you
shared. Yes. I would also say that, consciousness often moves through the natural kingdom. I mean, it moves through everything, but the natural kingdom is where it can be measured. So when you see the polar ice caps melting in Greenland and Antarctica at a radical speed, that means that what's hidden under the ice is being revealed, which means they can't keep it secret forever. So that's a sign that light's expanding, because when you melt the ice caps and you melt all the frozen water, it reveals what they're trying to hide. So that's one thing, just to be a little more radical in the theme of today.
Let me get on Google Earth for a minute.
The sign that the light is winning or is really rising is really how many more healers are born on this planet. The growing theory that we've had throughout our work is that everyone that's come to a Joy event or a Matt event before we came together was trying to heal themselves. But we've realized, both of us over the years, that everyone who is on a healing crisis, the storyline is because of the traumas of the past. The real reason we're on a healing crisis is because every person in their own way is being initiated into becoming a healer. A healer means the one who has healed, whether that means that as a career I assist people in this, or I'm just a healing voice for my family, my community. The more healers that we birth onto the planet, the less people we have in their own bubble of self-soothing, and the more wholeness that says, how can I step forward and be a part of this world as a leader of the new paradigm? So in the work that we're doing everything we can to initiate and to activate new healers on the planet, so that we have more people spreading the energy and the actions of well-being instead of chasing it and chasing symptoms or thinking everything they feel is traced back to a trauma. So really, the sign that the world is truly awakening out of this chapter is how many more healers are we bringing into the world? The people that just tell the story of, I have been healed, and it was because of the source of light within all beings that healing occurred, and that testimony starts to become what draws all people to want to seek the light instead of be entertained with any degree of darkness.
Beautiful. So before we go, I want to direct people to your offering here in a minute. But before we get that, why is it now the Joy and Matt Kahn Show?
Do you want to share it?
Okay, so the old YouTube page was Matt and Joy Kahn.
And forgive me, I started saying Joy and Matt at the beginning, and then I said, welcome to the show, Matt and Joy, and I went,
that's all right. We don't care. That's fine. So the old channel that has been up for 15 years, I got to a place in my life where I thought, and this was just my idea.
It wasn't a statement. We weren't trying to really make a statement.
Yeah, it's like I would love a change. I would love it to be not about the old energy, and I would love it to be about the new journey of helping people find their own power within themselves. So we decided to let the old channel go. It was already named Matt and Joy. So naturally we came up with a new channel of Joy and Matt.
So clever.
And then when we did that, I thought, and this is just what I thought, I go, well, won't that be a great way to dissolve more patriarchal spiritual energy and to uplift the divine feminine? This was my idea. So all the people that think this was, Joy's like, no, Matt, you have to be in the background.
I gotta get right in front there.
We're gonna no, and I really just thought that. I go, wow, wouldn't that be a great way just to demonstrate it? And I started thinking about Joy and Matt Kahn. I went, you know what? That's how I want it everywhere. And we talked about it, and that's literally the amount of time we put into that.
Although it was stemming from this conversation we were having, which was really the patriarchal structure, and really anyone leading, any idea that needs to be the leader of this world is what we're speaking to. That's part of the dismantling. It's the idea that anyone's voice would be second or wouldn't be heard. We're wanting to trigger a bit of that dismantling. Like, what are we doing in our world, and how are we treating each other? How are we treating women? How are we treating people from other cultures? What are we doing, without getting into an ideology conversation? Right. It really is more about what will it take for us to see each other as not the same but equal.
Well, right? This is certainly a patriarchy with a bulldozer going on around the planet right now. Let's see what we can do with this bulldozer and create forgive me, a big war thingy.
Right.
It's true, though. Absolutely. It's true. And I mean, it's, I knew about patriarchal structures on a very broad level, but for a lot of my career, I was going through these awakenings, and I really wasn't aware of a lot of the worldly stuff. I didn't think I was beyond it. I just wasn't aware of it. And when I came back into the body and I kind of started to fill in some of the blanks, and I started to see really what the patriarchal structures have been, and what they do. It's kind of one of those things when, and I mean, I'm just giving my personal experience, where like as a man, I would always my whole life be like, I side with women and I want women to be equal, and I understand your pain. But then there's the realization of, no, I understand their pain from this side of privilege and this side of experience. My feet are not in her shoes, even though we do have the same shoe size technically. But the realization of,
right.
Yeah, I can't ever know what you've gone through. And it brought it more into my body, and it just became an opportunity to say, where are all the ways that we can just in any way possible bring about a unity, and especially in the spiritual field, whether you want to talk about religion or even the New Age. It's very strange how indoctrinated all this stuff is. And I just felt so proud and excited. Oh, a new channel, a new chapter, and we get to really celebrate the divine feminine, especially like if you go back to the days of ancient Egypt, you had the masculine, the feminine teaching together. And no matter what people think about Bible, just from a translation standpoint, people think, they took a rib out of a man and made a woman, because the word was side. But side doesn't mean the side of a man like a rib. Side means the other side, the other half. So I don't want to teach on stage without my beloved, because we are one and we are together. And that for me is real. And it's something I'm so proud that we both get to demonstrate.
Yeah, I think we were both asked to do that, which then was the shattering of each of our egos that we're used to leading in our own way in our own businesses, to go, no, this is what we're doing together. There's what does it take to have that harmony? We're being shown every day what that looks like when we do this together.
Yeah.
I love it. And you guys, you've gone from MJ to JM. You've got a jam going on, and we got Michael and Jessica. Maybe I can get it to be Jessica and Michael. Get it. There's me trying to drive the ship, but it would be fun. All right. Love it. Where can people go to find out more, to find your work, and for the free offering that you have, because I'm very excited about that.
Absolutely. So you can go directly to our website, and maybe you can put a link in there. We've got a link that goes directly to.
I'll have that in the description. I'll have that pinned as well.
Thank you. So I think it's Matt and Joy, mattandjoy.org, because that hasn't changed, /healers code. But when you go to our website, we have a free gift for you. And it's just some information that we're bringing forward from 2,000 years ago, something that was suppressed out of Egypt, that shared with us our purpose and our path and how to live in harmony. And we want to share some of that with you. So it's absolutely free. It's something we want to gift to the world.
Every person has their own healer's code. We've all been trained to think we all have the same journey. We all do the same work. We actually have an individual journey, and the healer's code uses a system to give each person the first step in their own personalized journey to finding their personal purpose, how they can express that into the world. So for everyone that would resonate with that, join us at mattandjoy.org/healers code. And you can receive the first step in the Healer's Code journey for free. And for everyone that's experienced it, it has been astounding.
Yeah.
And we are so grateful to bring this system back out that's been hidden for, like Joy said, for 2,000 years. And it's a system that people have tried to invert, but it's an original system that helps humanity and light beings move forward as one.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Before I let you both go, and this is a TBC. Yes, I'm going TBD. No, TBC. This is a definite to be continued if you guys are open. What brings you both? When I say excitement, I'll go with hope for the future. What brings you both the greatest hope for the future?
I think what brings me hope is the more that I connect with this work, and I think you'll say something, in your own beautiful way, similar, but the spark that I feel inside of my heart, the love and passion we have for this work is bigger than it was 20 years ago. It makes me want to cry right now thinking about how pulled we feel, which means there is a humanity to serve. Otherwise, we wouldn't feel the pull of our calling so deeply. It's not because there's an urgency to save anyone. It's because there's an urgency to meet the moment, and people are ready to wake up. And that lights me up every single morning.
I would say that what gives me hope is, over the years, we have worked with so many people around this world. Some that are watching this, some that are just discovering this. And we know the light that is truly within people. The question really only is, what does it need to really bring that to the surface? And of course, it's not going to occur in the most comfortable way. That wouldn't be the movie any of us want to watch. But what gives me hope every day, honestly, is people. Yeah. Is that people are smart, people are resilient, people are loving, people are gentle. And that when you go on YouTube and you see thumbnails, or you watch videos, or you see the way things are edited to put a narrative across, the reason there's so much deception is because people are inherently good. People are inherently wonderful. And that people just want their fair share, and people just want an opportunity to love and take care of their families. So what gives me hope every day is, beyond the headlines and the way our world look like it's so crazy, step outside your front door, go take a walk, and not just in nature and how the trees feel and I'm unplugging from the world and I feel at peace. Be at peace with, some people are going to run red lights. Some people are impatient, but those are just people having bad days. Maybe they were coming from the funeral of burying their most beloved person on the planet, but people are inherently good, and darkness has to work really hard to suppress its own goodness, because it always rises to the surface as our natural state. So what gives me hope is, of course, the work I'm doing with my beloved wife, the great inspiration that I have in being able to do this work with Joy, but that we are serving beautiful, intelligent, wise beings. And we have done so much work, Joy and I, to not make ourselves anymore the center of attention, because we want other people's awarenesses and gifts to come into focus. And we will not distract from that, because the world is inherently beautiful, wise, and radiant. And that gives us both so much hope.
Thank you both so much. This has been beautiful. This is a great way to end or a great way to start, maybe. What a discussion. What a circle that we brought people on here today. I love it. Um, just good words, good thoughts. I'm looking up at the sky and I'm seeing a cloud that for some reason is hitting the sunlight at just the right angle that has all the colors of a rainbow in it right now. And it's almost like looking at an angel. I can't help but feel hope for tomorrow. I can't help but feel hope for the future. I love the idea of thinking about it as the snake, the darkness eating itself and coming into the light. And I truly think that is who and what we are and where we're going. So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, discover the light within you, step forward. Now is not the time to just kumbaya on the mat. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woo-hoo! Not that mad, of course. This is beautiful, guys. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was great.
That was great, Michael. You know, we've done this a few times before, and you know, my heart is with you for what happened, but I feel and sense a very different version of you, and I say that as a compliment.
Thank you. Oh, I take it that way. You know,
yeah,
me was good, but you know, it's the journey.
Will do.
Love to you, Jessica.
Yeah.
Wow, wow, wow. What another special show. Actually, this was beyond special. I'm so glad I had Joy and Matt on today. And I'm so glad I got to continue or to connect the dots with Matt today. And that was really special. And they really shared from the heart. And I'm so grateful for them. On that note, if you want to bring your energy up to the highest level, do I have some offerings for you? I've put together a very simple meditation program to help you calm, to help you connect with your guides, to help you connect on the inside and hear from your highest wisdom, from your highest guidance, to help you to navigate these times. And if you simply click that link below, I want to give you this free gift, 5 days to calm and connect with your guides. So you can simply click that link below to get your free meditations and 5 days to calm and connect. Here's a link to the next amazing show. Love you so, so much. Keep on shining bright. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this? Love. You are love. You came from love. You couldn't be anything other than love, no matter how much you tried. Lots of love, everyone.